Peter might have gone to YouTube. It might take him a second to get up. Here he is. He's trying to get in now. Here he is.
All right. Let's make sure the man of the hour is in. Thank you, Vincent. No further ado, as everyone's logging on, I will just start. I don't know if you guys are on gallery view or speaker view. Actually, everyone just put it on speaker view. And Vincent Siders, if you just want to start it off and introduce yourself before we start on with the nice
Sure. I'm Vincent Ernest Siders, and I am the director and editor of this piece. I'm going to popcorn this bad boy on off to Peter. You got to turn on there you go, Peter.
Hi. Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining us this evening. I'm Peter Snoad, and I wrote this piece.
Okay, and Megan?
Hi, everyone. My name is Megan. I played Betsy Marsh. I should probably pronounce that correctly. All right, this is going over to Ty.
Hello. My name is Ty Ruay, and I play Violet and Imani.
Thank you. And then anybody just want to introduce the spirit of Richard? Richard, I know he's not on here.
Yeah, Richard couldn't be with us tonight, but he sends his love and respect.
All right, well, let's just dive right in. I want to say thank you all. This was amazing. Folks were just taken away, having a conversation, chat, and basically starting out like, Peter, what was your inspiration? And I would love to hear what the director felt as in putting this together.
Yeah, so I think there were kind of three reasons I wrote this piece. One is that I'm kind of a bit of a history buff, so I've always been fascinated by the history of slavery, and I do some research on that as well on the side with some other folks. But I think the other thing too is that the history of slavery is sort of the history of America in so many ways, and the legacy of slavery is with us every day. I mean, George Floyd and countless other Black people have been murdered. That's a legacy of slavery, and so it goes all the way back. So that's one reason why I think it's also very contemporary to write something about this. The other thing I wanted to do was to hopefully help dispel the sort of perpetual myth that somehow never goes away, that there wasn't slavery in New England, there weren't enslaved people here, which is simply not the case. And the other thing that people, I think, is important for folks to know and for us to be able to reiterate all the time is that the New England economy was built on slavery. National economy was built on slavery, and New England ports, Boston, Portsmouth, Newport, Rhode Island, the largest slave trading center in the Americas in North America for some time. So I was hoping that this play could just remind us of that and introduce people who think otherwise to this notion that it was here and it affected everything. And I think finally I wanted to write the piece because I sort of, when I was thinking about writing it, I thought it would be great if I could write a piece that maybe could be useful as an educational tool for communities in New England that are looking at or want to look at and explore their own histories with slavery. So if there's somebody out there listening tonight or watching tonight who thinks, God, I'd love to have this play done in my community because we're looking at this stuff, contact me, let me know. We'll try and make it happen. So anyway, that's the sort of the main reasons why I just say the inspiration also for the play was a friend of mine, Lise Breen, who lives in Gloucester and has done a lot of research work on the history of enslavement and African-American folks living in Cape Ann. had, when she was doing research, she had a lot of pushback from several people in the community about, why don't go there. So that was sort of the germ of the idea for this play. It's like, there are people who don't want to go there. And so let's take it to them. So that's why.
Thank you, Peter. I mean, that's so real because as we were watching it, it was so raw. And I felt like to the point where it was like, wow, this is what people will be thinking. And the characters that you guys played was awesome. And it just made me think on the other side. It's like, this is how people are thinking when you own property, or especially when it's indulged with a lot of rich history. And it hurts to kind of bring old wounds, but it's good to talk about it and figure it out. But yes, let's go to Vincent. You as a director, like, what was your experience of even just getting this out there and telling the story?
Right. Well, being person of African descent, person Black here in America, dealing with legacies of slavery and white supremacy is a full-time job. So it's really good when you find a white person willing to carry their own load. And that was Peter's doing. Peter's kind of dealing with this situation. I wanted to help him in that. Whoops, light goes out. I wanted to help him in that task of dealing with this with the white community. So I put together a group of like-minded individuals. It's a strong piece, and we made it happen. And everyone that we brought in was very unique and was able to add their own flavor and understanding to this process. And I think those are the things that together made it greater than the sum of its parts.
Amen.
Thank you. And yes, our lovely cast members. I mean, either one, you can shoot and tell us how you felt playing those character roles. Megan, actually, yes, go ahead, Megan.
All right. Yeah, I think Betsy was a little hard for me to get into. I think at first she was written a little bit older. And so that changed the dynamic once we were cast in the roles. And then it actually was really helpful to have Peter in the room to ask questions. I especially was trying to figure out the final scene a lot. But I was really fascinated. I kind of, as a white person growing up in New England, it was like, oh yeah, well, slavery was really down south. Like, of course it kind of happened here, but so that was definitely a bit more of that, maybe not overt racism, but that just embedded systemic kind of thought process of, this is something serious that happened here. So I don't know. It was great to have Peter in the room and just ask questions to clarify character and relationship. And yeah, we were a small group, so over Zoom, and it was great to work with them. Yeah.
Fabulous job. Ty?
Yeah, I think playing Imani was really interesting for me. It was really fun. I definitely spent a lot of time asking Peter and Vincent questions about so why is she doing this? I'm like, where is this coming from? Then thinking about where, I don't know, I think Imani and I have obviously some similarities. She is a Black woman. I am a Black person identified as a woman. She was going into psychology. I got a degree in psychology a year ago. And so there were places I could draw from. But also just the whole premise of this character spending weeks with these strange white people, that was so interesting to dig into, as well as just having a play where we talk about the fact that the North's hands are not clean. Just being able to talk about it and say it and be like, yeah, it's not just like Megan's talking about. A lot of people up here think it's just a Southern problem. Racism is a Southern problem. Slavery was a Southern. It's like, no, we have issues up here too. We just don't talk about it. Exactly. We just sweep it right under the rug and pretend that we just because we were on the right side of the Civil War. Exactly, a little, ooh, don't talk about it. So this was really fun to work on. As soon as I read through the piece, I was like, oh yes, please let me be in this. This is great. So no, I had a great time. And also my co-stars were wonderful, of course. There's reading it and then there's being able to perform with two other people who are bringing so much energy, even though it was over Zoom. like that brought it to another level.
Especially Richard's character. I know that he's not here, and I know that's a question we want to put here in the box. Like, what did you guys think about his character? What were you feeling? Because I was totally feeling it. I was sitting there, I was like, this guy, he's not understanding what's going on. He's hiding something. Like, and it's just interesting how the story plays a part of like on the other perspective of a, you know, while you're not BIPOC, and then you get to actually hear what that person is feeling, what they're saying, or what they're afraid of. And I Peter, this was well done. It just brought it out in a way for different conversations to happen. So yeah, we would like to know what you guys thought about his character and how did you guys.
Let me start with this. First off, is that that is a very difficult character. In that it is very easy for him to be evil and disliked and just, you know, just on that level. So we had to cast someone who was actually opposite of that in real life. So that like some of that like niceness, that like the real genuine niceness can like kind of seep through a little bit, you know? So first off, that is just a character. That is not Richard. That is a character. Right. And Richard used all of his acting prowess and skills in order to make that character as believable and multifaceted as possible. I don't know if you wanted to say something to that respect there, in that regard, Peter.
Well, I would be curious, you know, when Ola, we were talking before about some of the questions we might discuss in the talkback. And, you know, my question is still, I'm afraid, is, does anybody like John at all? or is there anything likable about him? And I think dramatically the challenge for me, and I've tried to soften him as a character through the dialogue at times, but I'm still struggling with him as a character, and I would love if people have thoughts about him, please put them in the chat, because it is sort of an ongoing quest for me to really get my head around Richard and just fill him out some more.
The question is like, one question is it okay for him to be as horrible as he is?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. I'm going to say, as I'm hosting, I don't think you should even soften it anymore. I think the way you kept it as real as it is what we need to hear. And what
I agree.
Right? Whoever said that, yes, we need that rawness, because it is going to hurt, and things that people don't want to hear or they're afraid to say, but we need to watch that realisticness of what's actually happening. So I don't think you should soften it anymore. I think it's did anybody else on? I thought I heard a voice.
Hi, this is Valerie Fox. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. I don't think you should change Richard at all, because he is so real, and he articulates the thoughts that many people have. And if you're going to present a story like this, it needs to stay as real as it is. But what could be interesting about this whole thing is that, you know, through the honesty of having conversations with people around the way this play is written. I mean, I put so many comments in the chat because I had to write them as I was thinking them. I was so moved by everything, the acting, the playwriting. And I do want to also say that I'm glad you brought up the fact that, you know, slavery in New England existed. I portray different historical characters, and Phyllis Wheatley is one of the many women that I portray. And I mean, she was in the 18th century. She was owned by, you know, the Wheatley family. And that's a real story that she was, you know, enslaved and grew up right here in Boston. And it amazes me when I tell her story that people know her name some people, but they don't really know the history of her being enslaved and owned by the Wheatleys. So very prominent family. A lot of other people own slaves, and just want to say thank you, thank you, thank you for merging the past, the present, the future to a way that people can understand it, and at least to start the dialogue. Thank you.
Thank you, Valerie, for sharing. Yes.
Very much for that encouragement.
Yep. I guess you could say that's one of the takeaways, because we wanted to know what were the takeaways that the audience took. I mean, you know, right now we're fighting through the social justice, Black Lives Matter, and this definitely resonates a lot of what's going on. And I'm just very grateful. This story just played a very nice part and a continuation of a great conversation to have. And I just want to take this time now to apologize for folks with the technical difficulties of our Zoom. So if you are joining us on our Talkback, you will have access to review the stage reading again after this is over and for the whole entire weekend. So yes, if anybody else has any other questions, you can add it to the chat, or you can just hop on right now. We have about like 5 more minutes that will go along with the Talkback. I think Christine also put some lovely suggestions in here, and just me, I will save this chat for you all to see. She said, no one wants to be in subordinate position. Richard needs to place himself in any slave's position. And that is,
Ola,
yes.
would you mind reading? Christine had another one above that.
Okay. It's interesting that he felt that it's okay for you to have slaves as long as they are not whipped, hit. John missed the whole point that people are human beings who will like to be subordinate. To have others look at you as someone lower than themselves, Richard's character is why we have systematic discrimination. That's why there's white privilege. And that is so interesting that you do say that, because it is hard to recognize what actually privilege is. And I think that's a question or a word that's always been thrown around. And especially in this day and age, it's just like, what is privilege? And I feel like a lot of our partners or peers don't really understand what that means. It could just you being in the seat, your position, but it's basically how you take advantage of where you are and how you share that with others to let them know that things are not right. So I don't know if there's any more things you guys would love to share before I start rambling, but yes, please. Anything else you would like to know?
Yeah, I've got a question.
Yes, sir.
I got a question from Megan.
Hi,
Any
Vincent.
challenges bringing this particular character to life?
Yeah, definitely. Where do I start? I think at first reading the script, it felt, and this was before I think Peter added in some of that softening language, which I think is correct. We should probably not soften him anymore. But at first I was like, okay, what is the relationship between Betsy and John? And I eventually during rehearsal, it was like, okay, well, in order to get to the end of the play, there has to be love at the beginning of the play. So building that in was really nice. And the actor, Richard, I should clarify that John is the character and Richard is the actor. And he was a wonderful person to work with. But yeah, Betsy, at first it just felt a lot like, oh, white woman, good intentions, like, okay, I'm just gonna like check that box and be like, I'm part of the Black Lives Matter movement, and then I'm gonna go away, go to mom's house and kind of be done with it. But I did like that we made some edits. Peter added some more context to Betsy at the end of no, like this is going to be an ongoing thing. It should always be a conversation and something that we are participating in to unlearn the things that, I mean, I myself have learned as a child of, you know, like, oh, it's not that bad, and all of that stuff. Thought I was going somewhere with that, but I think that's my short answer to your question.
Thank you, Megan. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I did also observe that there were some interesting, I guess, drama between where it wasn't really clear that Betsy had lost someone. So later on within the play, I've noticed like there was something there the characters were struggling that connected to the whole thing about the slavery piece. And I felt like that was very interesting how, you know, they lost a child, but they're both trying to struggle of what's the real point of the picture of this. And then Betsy's still trying to dig and find out more, like, So I found that very interesting how that was into play with in the stage reading. I don't know, Peter, if you wanted to elaborate a little bit more of how that connects or how, yeah.
I just think it's sort of trying to draw the parallel between their sense of loss as parents, because they lost a daughter, and the fact that both Imani and Violet have lost relatives. In the case of Imani, it's two of her relatives who were in the military and committed suicide after they had done their tours in Iraq and Afghanistan. And in the case of Violet, it was, well, she lost her mom, she lost her husband and two kids. Lost two kids. So there's a lot of loss in this play. And it's funny, as we're talking, I'm thinking, I didn't realize that there's so much loss, but there is, there's a moment where I think, Betsy, the character, tells John that he's afraid. And he says, what am I afraid of? And she says, losing. And I think for me, I don't know how other folks interpreted this, but for me, the power behind that one word is, whites giving up white supremacy is losing. That's what this is all about, right? Are you willing to share? Because you're going to lose. You're going to lose stuff. So I don't know if that resonated with folks, that losing thing, but there's a motif throughout the play that I think was pretty unconscious when I was reading it, that there's a lot about loss for very good reasons.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for sharing that. And maybe we probably want to see more of the emotion part of the loss. Maybe that's me just to feel like what each party is going through and then like emphasizing how that affects what's going on now. All right, well, it is 9 o'clock, everyone. Does anybody still have a highlighting or very resonating question you would like to ask before we let our lovely people go? Or any parting ways? Well, I would like to say thank you so much. I am very happy. Thank you for the cast, Vincent, Peter, Richard, you're here in spirit with us. This was a great watch and I hope you guys enjoyed. And I hope you guys also will help us out. Make sure you enjoy this as well by giving us feedback. And again, this is also available for the whole weekend. So if you have not had a chance to watch it fully, you have the opportunity to do that and also support us by sharing it. If you have any questions, you can also reach out to us at Hibernian Hall at madison-park.org. And thank you so much for supporting all the arts that we do.
And last word, definitely, I know you already mentioned this, Ola, but definitely take the time to share it. Share it with your friends, share it with your family, share it with people that you think could learn something from watching it, or people who would just enjoy some good theater.
Yes, thank you. This was fabulous. I wish you all a blessed evening. And then again, we'll also send all communications through our website and our social media. So if folks had trouble logging on the Eventbrite, don't worry about that. We have a straight direct link to the YouTube page. So thank you all.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you so much. Take care.
Good job.